Hi everyone, Patricia and I are here with Molly Pops. Molly Pops is very sleepy today, so she's having a good old sleep. You relax, missus. That's it. You just let it go. Good girl, good girl. And we have got 4 more spelling activities. Patricia, I'm going to share the screen. Hooray! And you're going to talk us through the first activity. Looking forward to this. Ta-da!
Yay, perfect. So this is an activity using visualization to help the child with their spelling. It's something that was used in a sort of a spelling scheme that was specifically for children that were struggling with spelling, and it's the sort of thing that TAs would do in little groups with children. And then we got hold of it and we thought, well, this is brilliant. So like we've said before, that these strategies are just wonderful learning strategies. So we try this with all of our children. So the idea is to write a word that you want them to learn or have one of their spellings and hold it up on sort of a flashcard. Hold the card up for them. It says here on this one to upper left. I'm not sure, would you agree with that? No, it's not specific to me.
Yeah. So what we would say is that holding the card up is really important from a visual point of view, because we want our learners to we want them to engage with that visual skill. And then what we would do is we would move that card around and ask the child to say where that card is most comfortable for them. That's what we would do in our usual coaching person-centered way. So whoever suggested upper left has got too much of a system in their mind, and we need to be asking the children to be engaged and making their own decisions.
Yeah, absolutely. And we use the language, pop it on a shelf as well, so it sort of stays there. So wherever they feel more comfortable. And then when that word's there, they have a look at that word. What patterns can they see? How does it look? Is it long? Is it short? Anything they recognise? So they might be saying, oh, I know those 2 letters make that sound. So from what they've known before, whatever they would like to talk about it, to talk about the word. And then close their eyes and ask them to visualize the word. And then when they're happy, you can take away the card and get them to have a go at writing it on a whiteboard. Whiteboard is really important because if it's on a piece of paper, it's committed to, it could be right, it could be wrong. But on a whiteboard, children love writing on whiteboards because they know it can be rubbed away, it can be rubbed out. And then, like we've talked about before, looking at the letters they've written, forwards, backwards, and then you can have the card up again and the child then can check themselves. So it's not you saying, well done, it was right, or oh no, you got it wrong. They see themselves if it's right, and if it's not quite right, looking at what they have got right and then what they're going to change next time. So, and then they can have another go.
Spot on, because what we're aiming for in this particular activity is for that child not to be guessing how do I put that word together in which, but actually in their mind's eye they can see it. And so if they can see it in their mind's eye, they can also tell you what it is spelled like backwards, because they can see, if it was backwards, they can see the S at the end, the D, and so on and so forth. So they're not guessing how it's spelled forward in order to spell it backwards. They're literally recalling it from a visual point of view, and that's what we want to have happen. Just one addition to that would be to start with nouns to build that skill within the child. So, and when you start with nouns, what you can do is, and what we should be doing specifically to help the children with dyslexia, is to have the word on the same visual as the item itself. So we, in the first day of the spelling, we were talking about the word mouth. So it would have a picture of a mouth with mouth written on, maybe on the lips or something, so that child can hold one image in their mind. So it's not a mouth with mouth written underneath it, It's a mouth with mouth written on it, so that all they have to do is think of one visual image, and they know that that word relates to mouth and this is how it's spelt, because they get that visual locked into their minds. So we would recommend working with nouns. What do you think about that,
Yeah,
Patricia?
yeah, absolutely. It makes sense. And that, I think we've seen a lot of things in the past where you, like you say, you've got the picture and then you've got the word underneath. But I just love the idea that it's one, so that's just one piece of information they have they have to hold.
Absolutely, absolutely. Brilliant, brilliant. Thank you for that. That's a great activity. And I like the discussion we've had about that, the importance of the visual, and the unimportance of following rules like upper left, and the importance of working person-centeredly, because your children will have preferences. And if we can engender these skills in young people, and we can get them to take control of their visualness and their superpower of being visual, then we will enable them to get through education so much easier. Their recall will be great, and they'll be able to get through education in a much easier manner. So we're going to go to the next activity, which is about voice.
And I love the fact it says tape recorder. I don't know if anyone has a tape recorder anymore, but we have so many other ways of recording our voice. So I think you get the idea of this. So it's about recording your child's voice and allowing them to hear their own voice saying a word and spelling a word, basically. And children love, unlike us adults, children love hearing their voices. And so to have that sound, so they say and write the word for your child saying the letter name. So you are modeling that first, and then you record them saying the whole word, then spelling it, and then the whole word again. So they could say the letter name, or they could say the letter sound, depending on their age and their ability and what is more helpful for them. And then play it back, rewind the tape, play it back for them so they can hear themselves doing it.
When was this activity written?
I don't know.
A long time ago, but it stands, doesn't it, at the test
Theory is
of
best,
time,
yes. Yeah.
because the auditory function is so important. And I have to say, if people can get used to seeing themselves and hearing themselves, it helps, because Patricia and I are still not that 100% comfortable with seeing and hearing ourselves, are we?
No, keep going though, keep doing it.
Fantastic, fantastic. Let's get these little confident broadcasters training away. Now we've got mnemonics. So Molly's just sprung up and awake, so she obviously likes mnemonics.
She's woken up for those. So this particular slide almost comes with a health warning. So it's not a list of things that you should do, but it's just an idea. So I remember learning at school how to spell the word difficulty by learning Mrs. D, Mrs. I, Mrs. F, F, I, Mrs. C, Mrs. U, Mrs. L, T, Y. And with that pattern and that rhythm, that's not really mnemonic, but it's a way of remembering it. A mnemonic that we use quite a lot is how to spell the words because. So what we do is we tie a story to each letter in because. So big elephants can always understand small elephants. Most children in my class know that, and you can hear them saying it as they're writing. So it's just helping them to remember. It's a story that helps them to remember how to spell the word. Now, the rest of these, I've never heard of any of those. But what I have experienced is children making up their own mnemonics to help them with words that they particularly struggle with. So, for example, I've had a little girl who always forgets how to spell does. So she spells does, D-O-S-E, which does make sense. and she's obviously just been spelling it like that for years. And then when I say to her, have a look at this, she goes, oh God, that again. So she made herself up a little mnemonic to represent the words D, O, E, and S to help her remember that the E always becomes before the S in does. Now, I can't remember it sadly, but that's personal to her. And she identified something that she needed to work on and she wanted to change. And then she put her own little story to it so that she could remember it. And she stops and she thinks and she says it to herself and then she spells it right. So it's worked for her.
Fantastic. So she's in control of her own mnemonic, which has meaning for her. She's the creator of her own learning, and that really helps her with that particular spelling challenge. Isn't that fantastic to hear that story? What an amazing story.
Yeah, and it's great because I love when they have ownership, because I have had children that come out and say, I'm rubbish at spelling.
Yeah.
And you're not, no one's rubbish at spelling. You're not rubbish at spelling. You just need to find a different way to help you to manage it and to handle it. We always tell them about Shakespeare. Have a look at Shakespeare. His spelling is off the wall, and he's one of the most brilliant writers the world's ever known. So having that confidence to have a strategy to use to help them to spell correctly is just brilliant.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for that. I'm going to ask you in a minute about why people use of for have, of for have, HAVE, but that'll come in a minute. Just give you the heads up because that has just sparked off that memory in my mind. So we've got picture links. Does this come from the 70s as well? I'm wondering.
It might do, yeah. It's not very helpful, but very similar to lots of the other things that we have been talking about adding pictures to the words, but like you were saying, it's better to have them all together.
Yeah.
But things that are helpful, for example, the rat in separate is brilliant, because many people spell separate SEPERATE, and actually if you think there's a rat in the middle of it, that will help you to remember. Yeah. And then you've got the para, like a parachute, in the middle of separate. So just nice little ideas there.
Great ideas. And what I would suggest we do is we pull that visual image down so that you've got the parachute as part of that word and the rat as part of that word as well. And that will help the dyslexic learners, these people, because what happens when a person has dyslexic tendencies is they have a superpower, and their visual ability is way faster than people who haven't got dyslexia. So it is a superpower. The rest of us in society are way slower, and we can't keep up with people with dyslexia. So what we have to do is to build that ability for a person who has dyslexia to gain control of that superpower that they have. And it really helps for them to be able to have, well, for all children, one image with that word associated with it, which means that they're not having to think in multiples of visual images, and that helps them gain control, helps the visual sense become more grounded and fixed, which stops all of that confusion that can happen. So really simple things. And that's what we would suggest. Very much like this. If we go back, I know we've done it on a previous week, but this is perfect because the letters are in the object themselves, and when they're in the object, they will be remembered as one. So when you close your eyes and you imagine that image, you can't imagine that image without those letters in, can you? You imagine that banana cut into 3, and you can see BANANA, and then you can see what's happening within watermelon as well. So it's one image. Perfect. Patricia, thank you so much. What's this thing about of and have, in your opinion?
I have to say it is a little bit of a bugbear of mine. So I go mad. So you will often get stories and things written say I could have, or
Yeah,
they should have, or
yeah,
we would have. And I mean, how I try and deal with it is by giving information to the children. Say, well, you're trying to say we would have. So it's two separate words, would and have, and then they understand about using apostrophes for contraction, making words shorter with words like don't and shouldn't and couldn't. So explain how this is just a contraction. You've got the word would, you've got the word have. So we need a VE on the end. It's not an OF on the end, but it is very, very common, and it really annoys me.
and do you think it just comes from that phonetic, you know, I
Yeah.
would have done that, I should have done that, and do you think that that gets fixed in a person's mind, OF?
I think so. I think so. And it is a little bit of a standing joke in my classroom. You can hear them saying to each other, oh, "No, change that. She'll see it." I'm like, really? How many times? But
But that's
it's
nice, that's nice that you're teaching them that it matters.
yes, yes, yeah. No, it is. It's a bit of an odd one.
It's very widespread.
I know. And yeah, and you get it a lot in text as well. You know, I don't know if it goes into predictive text, but that drives me mad too. So, but it's knowledge. Knowledge is power and understanding. So it's just thinking. I don't see that as a lack of an understanding of how to spell a word. It's just how it sounds, and it's just
Yeah.
quick to write would have.
Yeah, yeah, exactly, exactly, and they probably don't think about it. So well done for your for your efforts to change the nation's use of the word. Brilliant stuff. Thank you so much, Patricia. So that's spelling, and we'll come up with another way of being able to develop those curious, inquiring minds that are all learning focused. And we'll share that with you. But for now, thank you very much for all this spelling that you're going to do with all these lovely children that you're responsible for. Thank you, Patricia.
Thank you.
All right. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.